Well, good morning. I'm Ursula Pottinger, Profound Growth, and our work really centers around prosperity coaching and the prosperity mindset for individuals and families and financial advisors. And today, I'm here with my really, really good friend, Marci Heerman, who is an executive coach. And we will unpack some interesting questions in regards to leadership, consciousness, and spirituality. So, a brief introduction. Marci is an executive leadership development coach and organizational consultant who specializes in accessing the power of the heart to create extraordinary results. So thank you so much, Marci, for being here this morning. I'm really excited about our conversation. And so really what struck me about your introduction is, the accessing the power of the heart to get extraordinary results, which takes me to my first question, which is, what do you see makes an effective leader beyond the usual leadership speak? Some of the things that we call sort of consensus reality, which is everybody knows it should
Right.
be this way.
Right.
So what do you know about the power of accessing the heart that is really beyond the usual leadership speak?
Thank you, Ursula. Thanks for having me. It's just a real joy for me to be with you and to support your work with profound growth. And I think that's a great segue into that first question. What is profound about leadership?
Mhm.
Well, I believe working with leaders for many, many years and for myself and my own business, that unless we're connected to a source that is deep within us, that infinite source of wisdom, it's going to be very difficult to lead others or to engage others in a meaningful mission.
Mhm.
And so for the leaders that I work with, whether they are emerging leaders, new in their career, maybe at the midpoint of their career, looking to see what's next for them, or senior leaders, one thing that I've seen as being critical and essential is their discipline around understanding their own set of values and bringing a greater presence. That word presence is the first, I've developed a model called the Wholehearted Leadership model, and presence is at the core of that model because I believe, again, beyond our emotional competency, beyond our technical ability, beyond our expertise in finance, in technology, whatever function we're leading, there is an energetic quality about what we connect to in
Yes.
our heart space that resonates beyond the physical world. And
Yes.
so that is profound to me. That is a profound mystery, and I think it's a profound resource that can guide us, especially in times of change and transformation that we find ourselves in today.
Wow. I mean, that is really that's really amazing, and it really goes beyond the usual leadership speak of, you have to have a vision, you have to have a strategy. How do you communicate, verbally or with email and all that. So when leaders of whether they're, as you said, emerging leaders, CEO suite leaders, doesn't matter. When leaders connect to that profound heart space, what's the transformation? What's this change you see in their leadership approach?
Mhm. That's a wonderful question. I believe the changes that I've seen have been on a scale, some dramatically life-changing, and some more practical and very tactical, if you will. So a whole range of change. But to put it in the context of the world that we're in right now,
Yes.
in order to remain stable, in order to have composure, and to think clearly about the decisions that we're making, I think it's absolutely essential for all of us to find those practices and those tools, and if we don't have them, develop them to support our everyday well-being. And
Yes.
it's a big issue, but I believe there are so many things that can take us off track and off focus every single day, hour to hour.
Yes.
And we could just go down the list of distractions and important issues that we're all facing, whether that be our personal health, the health of our family, our friends, our loved ones, to our economic stability, our social, political stability.
Yeah.
And so to come back to your question, what are the changes that I'm seeing? I'm seeing people sort of have the courage to drop the persona of perfection or what I thought a leader should look like or be like, and, you know, be real.
Yeah.
Have our children who are learning from home in our Zoom running back and forth and just say, you know, hey, this is where I am today. I'm a mom, my husband's working, our kids are here, it's chaos.
Yeah.
So I need a break.
Well, this is really interesting. You know, as you know, in my work, you know, I really connect consciousness transformation and prosperity to neuroscience. And really what you're speaking to is really the practice that you're speaking about, and the discipline is to really balance our brain system.
Right.
Because when we go down the proverbial, distracted negative rabbit hole, what happens is we become so stuck in some of the emotions of frustration and fear, and that really does not help, funnily enough, what's called the executive, the CEO of our brain.
Exactly.
Right? And so I find this really funny is, looking at the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive brain, the, higher functioning, and really looking at leadership and saying, well, that part of your brain is really the CEO of your brain. And one of the functions of it is access to empathy.
Yes.
And so that is that heart space. And I think when we lose empathy for ourselves and for other people, there is a huge disconnect.
Absolutely.
Between what we do and how we connect to other people.
It's right. I believe that's a big part of it as well. I if you study any of the Heart Math Institute, here's where we connect the brain and the heart. The wisdom of the heart is also extremely strong and courageous and vulnerable at the same time.
Yeah.
And so what I love what you're saying here today about the neuroscience piece and the spirituality of leadership or consciousness is it's actually both. It's both and.
Yes.
So how do we bring a wholeness to our lives, a wholeness to our leadership that includes left brain and right brain, heart and head, and begin to really evolve our own understanding about what are the fundamental pieces of being an ethical leader now.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That integration space. And I love that you're bringing up the Heart Math Institute. So for those of you that are listening, the Heart Math Institute is really one of the foremost research institute that researches the heart neurons, our heart field that connects us to others, and the heart intelligence that we have. So the funny thing about this is, I think, and I encounter that in my work as well, is that a lot of people sort of think heart and they go, oh, it's all like fluffy, but it really is not. It's scientifically proven that our heart has intelligence that it accesses. And when we tap into that, there is a sort of this funny push-pull going on. Our heart knows actually first what we want, and then our left hemisphere that interprets some of this sort of starts overriding.
Yeah, indeed.
Through evidence, or this is analysis, and this is this is what looks good on paper, kind of thing, and it overrides that. And I know this for myself, that can be a real struggle. It's my heart knows what I really want, and then I have this really great brain that says, oh, but this doesn't make any sense, and you should do something else. We should really be doing something else. And so this is you really already answering, the second question that I had. How does consciousness, spirituality help in being a good leader? And you were talking about being ethical and being real.
Yes,
And
mhm.
yeah, sorry, I'm just, for the listeners, it's January 14th, 2021, and we're still in the middle of COVID. We have just impeached or are in the process of impeaching our president for the second time. So we are finding ourselves in a real and have been for the last 9, 10 months and longer in this really transitionary period where so much have been asked of us, and there's been so much change that I think we can use for that realness versus
Mhm.
the persona. Because as you say, when you're on Zoom and you have all kinds of kids running around in the background, you're either going to drive yourself crazy trying to be perfect, or you lean into the space of this is just what it is.
Right, exactly. And I think our ability to um, courageously call what we know to be true is really what we're all searching for. Is this one of your questions coming up is, what does the world need now? Well, in times past, I think we could speak conceptually or theoretically about creating safe space, creating a sense of belonging, inclusion. And for me now, it's no longer theoretical in any way, shape, or form. How do we actually create and feel a sense of personal safety every day? How do we bring that safety to others? How do we demonstrate our compassion for the other? However we're experiencing that
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
our communities, in
really,
our
I agree. I mean, really, what the world really needs now is more compassion for self and for others. The divisive nature of racial division and political the political conversation. It really can take over. Uh,
Mhm.
where we really start focusing more and more on what separates us versus focusing on really what unites us. And that's a sort of I think also an interesting mindset that again, is completely in line with neuroscience, because once you have primed your brain to focus on something, it will find that evidence there. It really will find, if you
Yes.
want to look for evidence that is negative and divisive, in that moment you prime your brain to look for that. It's like I always say this to our students. Once I bought a red car, which I thought was really unique in color, because I only saw silver, black, and white. I bought a red car and I parked it once in the parking lot at Target, I think, and it was literally surrounded by red cars, and I went like, how did that happen?
Right.
But it is in the moment that I bought a red car, my brain primed itself to see red, to look for red cars a lot
Yeah,
more. And all of a sudden there it appeared. So it's a really interesting thing then, leading back to leadership. When you start looking for compassion and your unity, it really, that is what you're going to find. And
exactly.
that's
Exactly.
what's going to happen. So that's what the world needs now. What are some strategies and processes and tools you use to bring that about
Yeah,
in your
great.
work?
Great, Ursula. I would say for me, working with individuals who lead others, one of the most powerful tools that I use is an assessment of any kind. I use an emotional intelligence assessments and 360 assessments to help underscore the importance of accurate self-assessment. And so if you think about a leadership development engagement, coaching engagement, we see ourselves in one way, but we don't often know how others view us. And
Yes.
so there's a really powerful learning and discovery that can happen when we're really honest and seek feedback for uncovering blind spots, whether those are from our senior leaders, our peers, those that are our direct reports. So, starting with a baseline to help get an accurate assessment of strengths. I always start from a place of uncovering and focusing on innate strengths and gifts first.
Yes.
And so once we have that baseline, then we move into purpose. So how are you showing up? How do you define your purpose now? How is it different than in the past? Where are you going? Where are you taking your people? Where are you taking your organization? And then finally pivoting. And so this is a word that has come up so much in the last 7, 8, 9, 10 months, but not to overstate it, our ability to adapt to change, to adjust, and to understand where we do have some influence. I think understanding that and working with those tools of, the good old serenity prayer, grant me the strength to accept what I can't change, the courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I mean, it really is it does come down to this, working this discipline every single day and thinking about the concentric spheres of influence that we have, again, starting with our own selves, those people that we lead, our organizations, and then our communities and our world.
Yeah, well, this is an interesting topic because that leads me to neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to constantly rewire and change, which is, as you said, awareness, uncovering what we, in my work, what we call, sort of peeling back the layers or uncovering the invisible, because
yes.
I think that is, we all fall into traps of, oh, this is how I do things, which is just a neural pathway. It's got wired into, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, depending how long you've been doing it. And that becomes really a very strong connection in the brain. So then when that is being made visible, especially if the impact is negative,
yes,
that then shows that we have been wiring into our brains something that's not useful or effective. Now, I think the challenge with all that is the longer we've been doing this, the stronger the neural pathway, the harder it is to change it. And I think this is where certainly I encounter some resistance in my work, saying as well, but I've always done it this way. And, so, what do you see about the ability to change, with leaders,
yeah.
When they have done this and have been rewarded, I think, which
yes.
is even more to the point,
Yeah.
for certain things that now may not work anymore?
Yeah. So I think it does come down to motivation. You
Yes.
say the ability to change, the capacity and the willingness, the desire to change. So
Yes.
if we can help uncover what is a more fulfilling outcome and connect over and over again with that future state or that desired outcome that's going to move them in a direction or move their team or their organization in the direction that it has to go, then that becomes the nugget that you can begin to work on and return to over again, over and over again. And
Yes.
so it's a little bit like going to the gym. A physical trainer can help you get in touch with, okay, what are those goals? Yeah, whether we lower your cholesterol or more flexibility or what have you. That's the power of the partnership of coaching, with others is that you do build stamina together as you discover a new way of being. And oftentimes you can do that on your own, but you can do it faster. You can do
Yeah,
it
I think
faster with more
I
efficiency with others.
completely agree. Having tried various things, especially as it relates to exercise for myself, I find it a lot easier to do it in some form of community
Yes,
because of the accountability. That's
yes,
the reason why I really like tennis. I play on a team, and so the team relies on me to show up. I'm not sure, how much tennis I would play if it were just, playing against the machine. There's no accountability other than the one that I have with myself. And it's interesting, the motivational piece that you're bringing up. One of the key factors in being able to change from a neuroscience perspective is personal relevance. And you
yes,
are really speaking to that. So what I want to leave our listeners with is, if you want to make a change, you have to find, why is this relevant to you?
yes,
And not, a should isn't going to do it.
yes,
I should lose weight. I should, be kinder. I should have a better agenda. I mean, there's 100 million shoulds.
yes,
The shoulds are not going to do it. It's going back to your heart, the accessing the heart is saying, like, what is in here that is so personally relevant to me that will drive the motivation to change, no matter how uncomfortable it is,
right.
because that rewiring of the brain is first going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be your comfort zone.
Yeah. And, it's out of that discomfort that learning comes, that growth comes, that grace comes. And it is the long journey.
Yeah.
This isn't about a 1 week or 2 week exploration. What you're talking about is the soul's journey toward profound growth. And that is a lifelong exploration of beliefs, of values, of purpose, of presence, that, will continue beyond 1 or 2 months of working together. This is about why we're on the planet. What are we spiritually here to create together in order to leave this place in a better way than when we came?
Same. Yeah. No, that's beautiful. And I really, with that beautiful statement, I will leave our listeners with that. How can they be in touch with you if they're interested in your work?
Oh, thank you, Ursula. You can find me in LinkedIn, Marci Heerman, and my website is wholehearted-leadership, wholeheartedleadership.com, Marci at wholehearted-leadership.com. And yeah, I would welcome any conversation or opportunity to continue to support what you're doing, and your listeners and your students and your clients in any way to help them accelerate their profound growth, personally and professionally.
That's great. Thank you so much, Marci. That was very fun. Thanks for
Thank
spending
you.
this morning with me.
Thank you.